Long before empire and order, before the division of nations and tongues, there lived beings who stood between man and myth. Shaggy, wild. Their memories echo in ancient text and genetic markers. They were called Horites. Wild men, marked by a distinctive characteristic, an excess amount of shaggy body hair likened to the texture of certain wild animals. At the center of this ancient enigma is one man, Esau, hairy from birth, red like blood, a hunter, a wanderer, and perhaps something more. This is the story of the Shaggy ones. Now, if you have seen my other films, we have been able to deduce and prove that the Horites are from the fallen seed of these angels that came down and slept with the daughters of Cain. In scripture, they are born and described as shaggy, like Esau, and they lived in caves, cave dwellers, troglodytes. In truth, they were Nephilim. In the modern day, we call them Neanderthals. But in every tongue, they were a mysterious people. This is not just a story of hair and myth, it is a story of a hidden bloodline, the forgotten branch of the Nephilim, and we call them the Shaggy. Barashith or Genesis 25:25. And the first came out red, hairy all over like a skin, and she called his name Ashu or Esau. Esau, the firstborn of Isaac, covered in hair from head to toe, his skin red, his body shaggy like an animal. He wasn't cursed, he was marked, a sign of something ancient, wild, unrefined. Esau was the image of strength without submission, flesh without covenant. His descendants became Edom, rough men of war, of the field of fury, and his merger with the Horites would birth something far more mysterious.
क्योंकि बचपन से आदत है इसलिए
देखा तो आधा घंटा बाद देखा था ऐसा शरीर पे बाल था पूरा
नर्स थी उन्होंने देखा तो देखते हुए चौंक गई एकदम डॉक्टर को बुलाया और बोला कि ये क्या है। उसके बाद ने डॉक्टर ने देखा उन्होंने कहा कि वो कोई बात नहीं ठीक है।
जसं जसं बार आहे नाही असं जन्मचं येसही बड़ी रहा भी नहीं है घटी रहा भी नहीं तो जन्म का ही ऐसा ही बोलते थे।
Thirteen-year-old Lalit was born with a rare congenital condition known as hypertrichosis. The disorder causes excessive hair growth.
कक्षा 7वीं से पढ़ा रहा हूँ और वर्तमान में ये कक्षा 8वीं में अध्ययन कर रहा है। और इसकी जो ये चेहरे पे जो बाल वाला सिस्टम है ये जन्म से ही इसके पिताजी के से भी मैंने बातचीत करी इस मामले में। उनका कहना कि इसका काफ़ी इलाज करा हुआ है लेकिन कोई रिलीफ नहीं मिला। और आज कंडीशन ये कि ये इसके बाल जैसे भी वो होते हैं तो बीच बीच में कटिंग भी कर देते हैं तो अपने आप ये बाल वापस उगाते हैं। रिलीफ अच्छा, होशियार स्टूडेंट है, पढ़ने में भी अच्छा है, थोड़ा चंचल जरूर है।
Now, I have shown this many times, but we know that Esau dwelled in a place called Shaggy, okay? In the Abari, and you see right here in Hebrew, it would be pronounced Shaggy. Obviously, they call it Seir in the English, but we can see that it means shaggy, hairy goat. Shaggy, hairy goat. And it's so interesting how Esau was literally, for Jacob to pass as his brother, he had to present himself with goat skin on his body. I think that this is very symbolic of telling us who Esau is today. Let's look at another example of this condition, and we're going to talk a little bit more about this condition that causes people to grow excess hair all over their body.
Brother, what's that? What's that, brother?
It is very likely because when they grow this hair on their body, it is shaggy hair, which leads me to believe that this is what Esau had. And considering that this place is called Shaggy, which is named after one of these descendants of Canaan, who was these fallen Nephilim bloodlines, it would make sense that Esau, being a hairy man, mixing with hairy people, shaggy Horites, is why you get people of today with this issue. Let's take a look.
I've been hairy since I was little. It never goes away. Sometimes they call me monkey, sometimes they call me spider monkey.
Under all this hair is an 11-year-old girl. She was born with one of the rarest genetic conditions on Earth. It's called Ambras syndrome.
Do you ever ask yourself, why me?
I used to ask myself why I was born this way. Because I used to it, I don't feel angry or afraid anymore.
Locked inside this little girl is a genetic accident that scientists are trying to understand. Solving the mystery will make a difference to the lives of people all over the world. A possible cure for baldness.
We hope that we can find out which genes can be turned on for making hair grow or to make hair not grow.
Bangkok is home to 25 million people. But in this city of so many, one little girl stands out. Her name is Supatra, but friends call her Nat.
Hello. สวัสดีครับ
สวัสดีครับ
ผมชื่อทิม แนะนำตัวดิ
Nat lives with her mum, dad and sister 1 hour's drive from the centre of Bangkok. She's literally one in a billion.
Tell me a little bit about the condition that you have.
There's something wrong in my cells. That's why I was born this way. I didn't have any choice.
Nat's condition is commonly referred to as werewolf syndrome. Excessive hair grows all over her body, but mainly on her face.
Sometimes my hair is soft, sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it makes me famous.
Nat has been this way since she was born.
What went through your mind when you held her for the first time?
I love her very much. I am crying because I am sorry for my baby. I usually feel upset when someone asks me about her condition.
Since the Middle Ages, there have been fewer than 50 documented cases of werewolf syndrome. Those afflicted with the mutation often gained fame as freak show exhibits.
Did you ever consider keeping her inside to protect her from being bullied?
At first, I thought about that, but then I realized that I could not possibly keep her from people's eyes forever. Someday, people will see and will talk, so I take her everywhere.
When Nat was younger, her parents tried laser treatment to remove the hair from her face. It caused painful bruising, and the hair quickly grew back. So now, it's allowed to grow.
I cut it myself about once a month because it grows faster than normal.
At first, Nat was the victim of name-calling at school. She chose to ignore it. Now, the stares have gone. Nat has a lot of friends. And she does everything they do. She's immersed herself in life.
We usually told her that she can't choose the way she was born. She has to embrace it to her benefit.
Okay, how long?
But at the USC Institute for Genetic Medicine in Los Angeles, there's now hope for this rarest of conditions.
When you think about world 6 to 7 billion people, and then just to have just a few people affected with this, it's a pretty rare mutation.
Genetic scientist Dr. Pragna Patel, who has been studying Ambrose syndrome for nearly 20 years, is on the verge of a breakthrough.
It appears that some gene is inappropriately being either turned on or turned off.
A few months ago, Dr. Patel, working with scientists in China, discovered the gene mutation that causes Nat's condition. The next step is to find a way of turning it off, or with baldness, turning it on.
I get lots of letters from bald men who want me to find a cure for it.
Dr. Patel can't give a time frame, but she's getting closer to developing a pill or a cream that restores hair. But her biggest goal is to find a cure for just one person. In the meantime, she believes there's a lot we can learn from Nat and others like her.
There's a lot that these people have to teach other people about life. You know, you just imagine what they have to live with every day, and cope with all the things that they have to cope with. So I think they have a lot to teach us.
Hey, Nat.
Nat knows better than anyone what it means to be different. And because of that, more than a cure, she wants people to embrace the differences in all of us.
I'm proud of myself and the way I am.
I am trying to live righteous in the world run by Satan. Yahuwah, Yahuwah is the days of the ancients. And Yahushua coming soon, cause his people need saving. Yahuwah will come through the most high mercy amazing. Now, I am not a Christian, I don't follow religion. The truth is really hidden in those heathen depictions. Revelations 1:14 just don't fit the description. Revelations 2:9 always playing the victim. Woo!
What you've just seen is called hypertrichosis, which is a condition where you grow excessive hair anywhere on the body, can be male or female. So there's no cure for this condition, but you can get medication to reduce the symptoms. You can be born with it, or sometimes certain cancers can make you have this condition. Regardless, I still think she's very beautiful.
Hypertrichosis, often called werewolf syndrome, is indeed a real hereditary condition characterized by excessive hair growth. Congenital generalized hypertrichosis is extremely rare, but it causes thick fur-like hair to cover the entire body from infancy. Physicians have examined Esau's case as if it were a medical report. A 2016 JAMA dermatology note explicitly likened Esau's description to such a diagnosis. It points out that the Hebrew could even be translated fur coat or garment, as if Esau wore a coat of hair. Indeed, Genesis 25:25 literally says his body was all over with hair. To doctors, This picture fits hereditary hypertrichosis congenita, a condition known from very few families. The first documented case of congenital hypertrichosis dates to the 1500s. A boy named Pedro Gonzalez, later called Petrus Gonsalves, his portrait survives in the Ambris collection, where he stands as a bearded man covered in hair from head to toe. Other sufferers emerged. For example, the Mexican performer Julia Pastrana was advertised as the bear woman or ape woman. Contemporary descriptions note that Pastrana's face and body were completely covered with thick black hair, and even her gums were enlarged, a condition called gingival hyperplasia. She had just 13 living teeth, her unusual gums causing a almost simian appearance. Lionel the Lion-Faced Man. Born in Poland in 1890, Stephen Biebrowski was also known across Europe and America as Lionel the Lion-Faced Man. His face and body were covered in over 8 inches of flowing blonde hair, giving him the appearance of a human lion. But Lionel was no beast. He was fluent in multiple languages and loved science and culture. Audiences gawked, but Biebrowski embodied the Esau archetype, a man misunderstood because of his appearance and feared because of his fur. Jesus, the Wolfman of Mexico. In modern times, the face of Choy Aceves became famous as the Wolfman. Born in a small Mexican village, his family carried a genetic legacy. Over 30 members across 5 generations shared the same condition. Jesus says he feels no shame, yet media labeled him as a beast and a monster and a freak. Crayofarini. Crayofarini was introduced to the Western world as the missing link, or what they think of as proof of Darwin's theory of, man evolving from monkeys and all this goofy stuff. Covered in fine hair and claimed to be a jungle girl, she was exploited as a scientific curiosity and a human bridge between man and ape. But the truth was simpler. She had hypertrichosis. Alice Elizabeth Doherty, the Minnesota Woolly Girl. Born on March 14, 1887 in Minneapolis, Minnesota, Alice Elizabeth Doherty entered the world with a rare condition known as hypertrichosis, lanuginosa, which caused fine silken hair to cover her entire body. At birth, this hair measured approximately 2 inches in length and eventually grew to be about 9 inches by her teenage years. Notably, none of her family members shared this condition. From the tender age of 2, Alice was exhibited by her parents as a sideshow attraction, earning the moniker the Minnesota Woolly Girl. which is weird considering that she has shaggy hair. But anyway, despite her public persona, Alice was known to be a bright and curious child, possessing striking blue eyes and a gentle demeanor. She continued performing to support her family, though she never harbored a desire for the spotlight, and retired from public exhibition in 1915. Alice passed away from bronchial pneumonia on June 13, 1933 in Dallas, Texas at the age of 46. Alice's life story echoes the biblical narrative of Esau described in Genesis as hairy all over, like a garment. These people are figures that were marked by their distinctive hairiness from birth, setting them apart in respective societies. Alice, like Esau, was perceived through the lens of her physical appearance, leading to a life shaped by public fascination and misunderstanding. Her story serves as a poignant reminder of how physical differences have historically been met with both wonder and exploitation. In recent decades, genetics has revealed that our past include literal wild men in the human family tree. When anatomists sequenced Neanderthal DNA, they found that non-African peoples today carry 1 to 2% or more of Neanderthal genes.
Bro looks like Neanderthal. I mean, yes, but you gotta love yourself no matter what you look like. Power!
I was really excited to do my 23andMe because my grandfather was from Egypt. He was Egyptian, he was Arabic and Muslim, and he was an immigrant, and I always thought that was so cool. I was like, oh my god, I'm a quarter Egyptian, like, I'm obviously an Egyptian princess, like, I can't wait to see what my royal blood has, you know, what my how much of my DNA is in the Middle East and Africa. Oh my god, I'm so exotic. Bitch, I get my 23andMe results back and I'm 0.2% Egyptian. My whole life I was like, I'm an Egyptian queen. 0.2%, that's fucking laughable. I'm the same amount Egyptian that I am fucking Neanderthal.
Well, I'll be sure.
What? I came back 97.8% European, British, and fucking Irish. With an increased chance of developing late onset Alzheimer's.
And you saw somebody who was a Neanderthal, knowing that Neanderthals have no problem eating other.
Yeah.
So I recently did one of those DNA testing services and I just got my results back, and one of the findings was a little surprising. So it says down here I have more Neanderthal DNA than 94% of other humans. Ah! It's giving purebred, it's giving the crew.
Faggot! What are you, a fag?
Get him!
America's most inbred family welcomes a new child.
Who's the little baby?
Mom.
Hey, how are you?
Oh, my name's Brian. I'm my grandson. The lively blue-eyed baby was filmed spending time with his great-grandparents in West Virginia.
What's his name?
Braxton.
Braxton.
The Whitakers, who suffer from mysterious physical and mental abnormalities, reportedly derive from the set of identical twins, Henry and John. According to the Daily Mail, Henry had a son and John had a daughter who fell in love and had kids together.
Are you right? You're right.
I'm late. You're right.
Brother, what's that? What's that, brother?
The condition of their modern-day offspring could be caused by genetic defects triggered by inbreeding.
What are you working on?
Ray is among the most severely affected and can only communicate by grunts.
Ray, we're gonna have some fun today.
Now, the reason why I am showing you these inbred, bastard, illegitimate children from the Caucasus community is because interbreeding would have had to have taken place with these Horites. And if you look at the scriptures, they describe these cave dwellers as completely stupid, dumb. Let's look at the scriptures real quick. This is Ayub or Job 30, verses 1 through 8. But now the youngest have laughed me to scorn. Now they reprove me in their turn, whose fathers I set at naught, whom I did not deem worthy to be with my shepherd dogs. Yea, why had I the strength of their hands? For them, the full term of life was lost. One is childless, in want and famine, such as they that fled, but lately the distress and misery of drought, who compassed the salt places on the surrounding shore, who had salt herbs for food, and were dishonorable and of no repute, in want of every good thing, who also ate roots of trees by reason of great hunger. These have risen up against me, whose houses were the caves of the rocks, who lived under the wild shrubs. They will cry out among the rustling bushes. They are sons of fools and vile men, whose names and esteem are quenched from off the earth. So Job is describing these cave-dwelling creatures. And he said they're dumb, they're violent, they're foolish. Now, Yexer, how do I know that Neanderthals are descendants of the Nephilim? Well, the Nephilim are not described as very smart either. Let's look at that real quick. This is 1 Baruch, chapter 3, and we're going to read 26 through 28. There were the Nephilim, famous from the beginning, that were of so great stature and so expert in war. Those did not Yahuwah choose, neither gave he the way of knowledge unto them, but they were destroyed because they had no wisdom and perished through their own foolishness. So these descendants of the fallen angels and the daughters of man, specifically Cain, were not very smart. Matter of fact, they were stupid. All right? So you have these Neanderthals who are stupid, and you have the Nephilim that are described as stupid. Take a look at this.
Realize we old timers, we grew up. If you called someone Neanderthal, that was an insult. Do you realize that the most racist scientific community ever were 19th century anthropologists? They're the ones that set up the race and this, and white male humans were at the top of the evolutionary ladder, and blacks and everybody else were lower, still evolving, closer to the apes. So watch what happens. In the 1990s, now that we can do genetic tracking and things, the world found out that Europeans are between 1% and 3% Neanderthal, and Africans are 0% Neanderthal. So in the 1990s, research papers started coming out talking about how creative and imaginative the Neanderthals must have been and how they used tools. A complete facelift of the Neanderthal.
You have Neanderthal genetics in you, you're going to have straight hair. You understand me? That's how we are able to recognize the original Homo sapiens on this planet, the unmixed Homo sapiens, original man and woman, by their curly, kinky, woolly carbon crowns. You understand me? That is evidence that they have no Neanderthal mutations that would cause their hair to lose its coral and fall. Go straight. You understand what I'm saying? We come in many hues. That's why we're called human. As you can see in this picture, we come in albino, which can create the cinnamon, coffee bean brown, soil brown, almost black. That's why they call us human. Study. For the more you study, the more options you will have. And the more options you have definitely means the more power.
Oh shit, here we go. I just saw a TikTok that said, what if white people didn't exist? And then I remembered, we aren't supposed to exist. Being white is a genetic mutation. We don't exist naturally. White people literally come from impingement. So people that are white have the audacity to be like, we're the Aryan race, we're the supreme race. Baby. How can you be the supreme race when you weren't even a race to begin with?
I'm addicted to eating raw meat. It's delicious, man.
Look at her face.
This steak.
was fed a little bit of grain, a little bit of corn, so you can taste sort of the sweetness in the steak.
Oh.
It's basically like very squishy in my mouth, and since it's raw, it just kind of just slides down your throat. You don't really have to chew it up that much.
Oh, look at her. She's just like,
It's a very good feeling. It's almost it's borderline euphoric.
What?
I feel like very primal. After I eat it, I get this urge to just kind of like howl like a wolf.
There were 3 different breeds of Neanderthals. Some of them were 700 pounds, 7.5 feet tall. You know what I'm saying? This is where the Bigfoot stories come from, y'all. Straight carnivores. There wasn't no plant life to eat in the frozen tundras of Europe. Others were grotesque looking. Half primate, half humans. Looking fully mutated. Some couldn't walk on 2 feet. You understand me? Always negative violent conflicts when it came to the original African human and these outside Neanderthal primates who were known for kidnapping human women and children and forcing them to mate. This would account for 65% of the reasons human DNA got crossed with Neanderthal DNA in the first place.
Let's talk about what it means to have Neanderthal DNA and why that's not a bad thing. When you get your 23andMe reports, you might have a report telling you how much DNA you share with your Neanderthal ancestors. Neanderthals were a group of ancient humans who lived in Europe and Western Asia and are the closest evolutionary relatives of modern humans. And while they may have looked a little bit different, Neanderthals were probably a lot like us. They went extinct about 40,000 years ago after living alongside modern humans for thousands of years. But they're not entirely gone because nearly all modern humans have evidence of Neanderthal ancestry, inheriting somewhere between 0 and 2% of our DNA from Neanderthals. We test for Neanderthal ancestry at thousands of markers across your genome, and at each of these markers you can have 0, 1, or 2 copies of a genetic variant that evolved in Neanderthals and came back into the human.
Check out this Neanderthal man dressed in modern-day clothes. African people share close to 0% of their DNA with Neanderthals, but people from European and Asian populations share around 1 to 4% of their DNA with these early humans.
Interesting.
Genetic testing proves that Africans have no Neanderthal DNA. Absolutely none. No Neanderthal DNA whatsoever. Google it. That's it.
Yeah. So I'm scrolling through my 23andMe, looking at all my results. Nothing stands out. Everything looks normal. Everything looks as expected, very white, until I link up with my brother. Like, nothing crazy, no family scandals. Like, we're definitely siblings. But then I review it a little bit closer. So I know I'm not the most sophisticated looking individual. But do you mean to tell me that I have more Neanderthal DNA in me than this absolute specimen? No.
Really, this is going to sound silly, but this is really important. Cutting edge genetics. One of the areas I'm really lucky I'm blessed to work in 3 distinct areas of biology: immunology, genetics, and reproduction. And on the genetics side, I get to go to conferences and hear about advances in genetics in all species. And I was just at one a couple of weeks ago down at the Cold Spring Harbor Lab in Long Island, and I learned a bit about what's being known about the genome of Neanderthals, the genetic makeup of Neanderthals. That the genome sequencers, led by Svante Pabo, who works in Germany, has taken tiny little fragments of Neanderthal bones, isolated DNA, and determined the genome of the Neanderthal, and used that information to determine, using genetic methods, how long ago Neanderthals and humans were a single species, where the common ancestor was. They've also been able to compare human genomes and ask the question of whether there's any evidence of Neanderthal genes in the human genome. And they found that there is. And the amount is quite significant, upwards of 5 to 7%. Neanderthals used to live in the Neander Valley. You could have called it the Cayuga Lake Basin, but that's where they lived. And out of Africa came the modern humans, and the word the geneticist uses, admixed. They admixed with the Neanderthals. And they all used to live in caves in those days like this. Came out of Africa, admixed with the Neanderthals. This was Neanderthal territory. There was another group of Neanderthal-like creatures called the Denisovans. They lived up here in Siberia, and they have their genome has been sequenced. They were distinct from the Neanderthals. And so you can find in people of European and Asian ancestry evidence of about 7%, 5 to 10% of your genome is common with that of Neanderthals. We've been separated from them for 30,000 years or so. And in some of the tribes in Papua New Guinea and those islands out there, there's evidence for a different kind of genome, which is probably the Denisovan genome. And they might have 7% Neanderthal and 5% Denisovan. So they might be 12 or 15% different from us. And in fact, the Africans who came out from Africa have no evidence of any Neanderthal genes in them. No evidence of admixture. So they're the real pure humans. Homo sapiens. Really, really interesting, and it gives you a lot to think about. Right.
Now, my great-granddaddy told me there wasn't no such thing as a coincidence. So there has to be a reason that all Africans, black Africans, and their direct descendants do not have Neanderthal DNA in them. Does this shed light on the reasons why everybody on the planet with Neanderthal DNA in them treats us the way they do?
If you only knew, ha ha ha, ha ha ha, ha ha ha, party till I die, with my chin up high, fuck 'em all, twerk like it's my last day on this earth, let that dollar maker work, shake that money maker in my face, it's a favor, ooh I love your misbehavior, party till I die, with my chin up high.
So we have to ask ourselves these few questions. We know that mankind mated with these Neanderthals. We know that mankind, a certain type of man, dwelled in caves, especially specifically from the Caucasus Mountains. We know that the Horites dwelled in caves. We know that Esau dwelled in caves. We know that Esau was shaggy and hairy. We know that the Horites were shaggy and hairy. And we have a people today who are also shaggy and hairy with the same hair texture as Esau and the Horites. I think it's very clear. And I just do these videos. We do these videos because I just want to show you that all this information correlates. I literally just had somebody on my Esau and the Horites film literally just tell me that the Lord is not black, the Lord is white. You know what, let's put him on blast. I do these films because of comments like this. And I understand when it comes to Caucasians, no matter how much evidence you bring out, they're gonna just be in denial. But I'm enjoying being a part of this, you know, the time of the end of the Gentiles, when the truth comes out, the information comes out. Now the Gentiles no longer have power because they're no longer able to tell these lies and we believe them anymore. The time of the Gentiles is coming to an end, and what I'm revealing and proving is proof of that. Let's look at this comment real quick. So the heathen here says, the Lord isn't black, and Jacob and Esau have the same skin color. He's white. First of all, I don't worship the Lord or the Lord. My Yahuwah has a name, and his name is Yahuwah. Lord is Baal, so I don't worship the Lord. So if your Lord is white and look like you, then, you know what I'm saying, I don't really care about that. As far as the Yahuwah of the scriptures and the Mashiach of the scriptures, melanated. Why? Because everything has melanin in it. Animals have melanin. Plants have melanin. People have melanin. White people have melanin too, but y'all have pheomelanin, which is animal melanin. Everything has melanin. So if your God don't have melanin, your God is of the fallen. But, you know, there's that. But let's continue because we've got just a little bit more I want to touch on.
Alright, so I've just been out biking for sort of 10 to 20 minutes with wet hair because it's summer now, apparently. And I came back and my hair smells like wet dog, and I don't know why this happens. I've heard it only happens to white people, and I'm pretty sure it's true because I know a lot of white people that smell like this after being outside the entire day. There's something in our hair and in the city air that does this. It just smells like wet dog. So if you know why, please put it in the comments, because this is an interesting scientific thing to research. Pretty stupid, but interesting nonetheless. Alright, have a nice day.
What do you think, Plum's good?
First Enoch chapter 7 verse 5 through 6. And they began to sin against birds and beasts, reptiles and fish, to eat one another's flesh and to drink their blood. And then the earth laid accusation against the lawless ones. So do you see why these people act the way that they do? Why you shouldn't mix with them? They are descendants of the fallen. I've been saying that. We also do these videos because we're trying to help people understand who these so-called white people are and why they have the nature that they do. They are just like the people that they came from, the Nephilim, which were half human, half angel hybrids. Now going back to Esau, yes, I do think that he had this condition called hypertrichosis. However, I believe that Esau had a more mild version of it. It talks about him having hair covering his whole body, but it doesn't say so much about his face. Some of the people that we looked at today have it all over their face, all over their body. And I believe that these traits were passed down through Esau intermarrying with these Horites, and the descendants of the Horites having these same features. For a long time, when I first found out about Esau, I was just like, how could this work? But then when you look at hypertrichosis and you see that people are born with hair all over their body, Esau had a very mild form of it. Yes, he was born from, a black man, black woman, but that is just the way in which he was created. The Most High decided to make a distinction in the way that he would look. So he was just a very, very hairy man with hypertrichosis condition. But I also think it's very symbolic of his descendants today to help you identify who his descendants are. And if you're able to identify who his descendants are, you are also able to identify who Jacob is. Or it could be the other way around. You identify who Jacob is, you can identify who Esau is. So that's it. Just wanted to do this quick little video. Wanted to make it less than an hour, and I think that I have achieved that goal. I hope this has been eye-opening for you, just in case you've always wondered about Esau. How could he be hairy from such a baby, right? Well, now you understand. He most likely had hypertrichosis. All right, so that's it for this video breakdown. I will see y'all in the next one. All praises to the Most High, the highest, Yahuwah, Yahusha. Shalom.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget you can support this channel by Cash App, $Malkaya Music. Also be sure to check out the Patreon for uncensored documentaries, films, deep dives, and much more content that you won't find here on YouTube. Check out the merch store for the latest drip. And let me not forget to say, if you haven't already, subscribe and hit that like button and tap in with us. All praises to the Most High, Yahuwah, the highest. Shalom.